Before we begin, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because this story might change how you see every trial in your life. They say when Allah chooses a woman for something greater, the world around her begins to shift, not always with comfort, but with divine preparation. Ibn Arabi once wrote, "The blessing is not given until the heart becomes ready to hold it." So before the blessing arrives, Allah shows her signs, gentle at first, then undeniable. The first sign is detachment. Suddenly, things that once brought her joy no longer hold the same sweetness. The conversations, the company, the distractions, they start to fade. It feels lonely, but in truth, Allah is pulling her away from noise so she can hear His voice clearly. The second sign is difficulty. Not to harm her, but to strengthen her. Allah shakes the foundation beneath her so that she builds her peace on Him alone. People leave, plans collapse, certainty disappears, but through it all, her heart starts whispering, "Hasbi Allah, Allah is enough for me." The third sign is purification. Old habits begin to fall away. She starts to crave silence instead of attention, prayer instead of validation, sincerity instead of perfection. Her soul begins to cleanse itself because it senses what's coming, something too pure for the old version of her to carry. Then come the next four signs, the ones that turn her from a believer into a vessel of light. Do you want me to continue with the next four, the transformation signs that Ibn Arabi described as the preparation before divine mercy unfolds? The fourth sign is the awakening of patience. At first, she resists what's happening, she cries, she questions, she wonders why life feels so heavy. But slowly, a quiet strength begins to bloom inside her. She stops asking why me, and starts whispering, "Ya Allah, teach me." Ibn Arabi said, when Allah loves a soul, He teaches her the language of surrender. That's when patience turns into peace. She no longer fights her circumstances, she starts to see the wisdom hidden in them. The fifth sign is isolation. Not punishment, but elevation. People misunderstand her, the world grows distant, and even those close to her seem unable to reach her heart. It's because Allah is pulling her away from dependence on creation to prepare her for closeness to the Creator. Her solitude becomes sacred, the place where revelation settles, the space where she begins to hear rather than just believe. The sixth sign is divine alignment. Doors she once tried to open by force suddenly open effortlessly. Opportunities appear from nowhere, hearts soften around her, and life starts moving in ways she could never plan. She realizes then Allah was not delaying, He was preparing. The very pain that once broke her was shaping the hands that would now receive His gift. And then comes the seventh sign, a peace that feels like coming home. Not joy, not excitement, something deeper. A stillness that says, "I am where Allah wants me to be." It's in this moment that her blessings begin to manifest in her health, her family, her heart, her purpose. Not as sudden miracles, but as quiet confirmations that Allah never forgot her. Ibn Arabi wrote, when the beloved chooses a woman for his light, He hides her first, so when she rises, the world knows it was not her strength, but His. And that's the truth of it, the seven divine signs aren't signs of punishment, they're the marks of divine preparation. When Allah loves a woman deeply, He breaks what is temporary in her life to fill her with what is eternal. The blessing doesn't come to her, it grows within her. And when that peace begins to take root, her entire being changes. She doesn't speak as much anymore, she listens more. Her prayers are softer but heavier, not with desperation, but with gratitude. The woman who once trembled through her trials now moves through them with grace. She's not the same, because the storms that once frightened her have become her teachers. Ibn Arabi said, "The woman who knows her Lord sees no loss, for everything that leaves her was never hers to keep." And she finally understands. Now, when Allah sends difficulty, she doesn't see it as rejection, she sees it as refinement. When people walk away, she doesn't chase, she smiles and says, "They were part of my lesson, not my destination." Every prayer now feels like a reunion with the one who never left. She has become the reflection of calm, the kind that only those touched by divine love carry. And then, almost without realizing it, the blessing arrives. But it doesn't come wrapped in gold or in loud celebration. It comes quietly, as peace that doesn't leave, as doors that open without effort, as strength she didn't know she had. Sometimes the blessing is in her purpose, sometimes in her family, sometimes in her healing. And sometimes, it's simply in her becoming. Because what Allah was preparing all along was not a gift outside of her, it was the woman herself. She becomes the blessing. The kind of woman whose faith moves gently but deeply, whose heart carries light even in darkness, whose silence carries remembrance. Ibn Arabi said, "The most radiant souls are those whom Allah taught through solitude." And so she walks forward, not seeking signs anymore, but becoming one. Her patience becomes a sign. Her strength becomes a sign. Her peace becomes a sign. And the world around her begins to notice the glow she doesn't try to show, the glow that can only come from a heart that has been touched, broken, and rebuilt by the hands of the divine. And as she continues on her path, her steps become slower, steadier, not because she is tired, but because she has learned to move only when her soul feels aligned with Allah's will. She no longer rushes decisions or forces outcomes. She understands now that every delay is a form of divine protection, every silence a form of divine speech. Ibn Arabi said, "When the heart is purified, even the pauses of destiny speak." And now she hears them, not with her ears, but with her heart. People start to wonder how she remains so calm when storms rise around her. They ask how she keeps smiling when others would have broken. But she knows it's not strength, it's surrender. The woman she used to be fought to understand everything, the woman she has become trusts without needing to. Her faith has turned from words into breath, constant, invisible, alive. And then, one day, she looks back and realizes that everything that once hurt her was, in truth, a mercy in disguise. Every heartbreak made space for love that was pure. Every loss emptied her hands for something better. Every tear watered the soil of her patience until blessings bloomed where pain once stood. She whispers, "Ya Allah, nothing you took ever left me poorer, it only made me ready." Now, she no longer asks for blessings, she asks to be worthy of them. She no longer seeks signs, she becomes one. Her presence brings comfort, her words bring peace, her silence brings remembrance. People feel Allah's mercy through her because she has become a vessel of it. Ibn Arabi wrote, "When Allah's light fills a woman's heart, she no longer reflects the world, she reflects Him." And so, she lives quietly but powerfully, carrying within her the 7 divine signs that once prepared her, now shining as proofs of His love. She doesn't boast of her blessings, because she knows they are not hers, they are trusts. And in her humility lies her majesty. Because the greatest blessing Allah gives a woman is not wealth, nor status, nor comfort, it's awakening. The awakening that turns her trials into lessons, her wounds into wisdom, and her heart into light. And in that light, she finally understands, the 7 signs were never warnings. They were whispers from the one who was saying all along, "You are ready now, my beloved. What I have written for you is already on its way." And when that realization sinks deep into her soul, something within her settles permanently, a peace that no storm can touch. She wakes in the morning not chasing what's next, but thanking Allah for what already is. Her heart beats slower, softer, because it has found its rhythm in remembrance. Ibn Arabi said, "The woman who remembers her Lord becomes the reflection of His calm." And indeed, calm follows her now in her words, in her steps, in the way she carries her silence like prayer. Every moment begins to feel like worship. Washing her hands, speaking kindly, helping others, even the smallest acts become sacred because her intention is pure. She no longer separates life from faith, she sees them as one. Everything she does, every breath she takes, feels like saying Alhamdulillah. And that is the quiet power Allah gives to those He prepares, not the power to control, but the power to surrender with beauty. People notice her, not because she demands attention, but because peace itself seems to follow her. She doesn't need to prove her worth, her presence speaks for her. She listens more than she talks, prays more than she complains, trusts more than she fears. She knows now that her blessings don't define her, her closeness to Allah does. Ibn Arabi wrote, "When the heart becomes a home for the divine, creation begins to rest in its shade." She has become that home. And when she faces new trials, because even the blessed are tested, she no longer trembles. She smiles and whispers, "My Lord never took something without giving me Himself in return." That's her secret now. She doesn't measure blessings by what she gains, but by how much closer she feels to Him. And so, the story of the 7 divine signs ends not with celebration, but with understanding that every woman touched by Allah's love carries within her a quiet strength the world can't explain. Her patience becomes her crown, her faith her beauty, her remembrance her light. In her stillness, she has found everything. And Allah, who watched her rise through pain, through loss, through surrender, now surrounds her with mercy unseen. She is no longer waiting for blessings, she has become one herself. For the woman Allah prepares is not made to shine for the world, but to reflect the heavens. And as she continues to live in that divine stillness, the world around her begins to transform too. Her presence becomes a form of dua, the kind that doesn't need words, because her peace speaks louder than any prayer. People feel comfort around her, though they don't always understand why. It's because her soul vibrates with remembrance. Ibn Arabi said, "When the heart aligns with the Beloved, it becomes a mirror where others see themselves in His light." And she has become that mirror. Now, her blessings unfold quietly, like flowers opening at dawn. Nothing loud, nothing rushed, everything perfectly timed. She realizes that what Allah was giving her wasn't just provision, it was position. He elevated her in ways the world can't measure, not with fame or fortune, but with tranquility, humility, and certainty. Every answered prayer feels less like a reward and more like a reminder that Allah was always listening. She walks through life aware of her purpose. Her words heal, her presence uplifts, and her silence teaches. She doesn't react from emotion anymore, she responds from faith. Even when she doesn't understand something, she smiles softly and says, "If it's written for me, it will find me. If it's not, it will teach me." That is how unshakable trust looks when it blooms. And then comes the sweetest part, the moment she realizes that the blessing she waited for wasn't a thing or a person, it was this state of heart. The blessing is awareness. To see Allah in all things, to love Him above all things, and to find Him through all things. Ibn Arabi wrote, "The most perfect heart is the one that stops asking for paradise and starts seeing paradise in remembrance." She has reached that place now. Her sujud is no longer a request, it's home. Her tears are no longer pain, they are gratitude. Her life, once marked by struggle, has become a story of quiet divine preparation. She finally understands that every loss was love in disguise, every delay was mercy, and every silence was Allah drawing her closer. Now, wherever she goes, she carries the light not to prove she's blessed, but to remind others that they are too. Because the woman Allah blesses greatly is not the one who has everything, but the one who needs nothing more than Him. And when she reaches that point, the heavens themselves bear witness, this is the soul we have refined through patience and adorned with peace. And as she grows into that light, her life quietly begins to radiate barakah. Everything she touches seems to flow in harmony, not because she seeks control, but because she walks with trust. Even her challenges now carry sweetness, because she's learned to see Allah in both ease and trial. Ibn Arabi said, when the heart learns to recognize the hand of Allah in all things, nothing that happens feels wrong. Her faith no longer shakes with circumstances, it deepens with them. When she faces uncertainty, she doesn't panic, she smiles softly and says, "My Lord knows, even if I don't." When others lose hope, she becomes their reminder that patience and prayer never return empty. The world sees her calm, but only she knows the secret behind it. Her heart is anchored to the one who never changes. Over time, her blessings expand quietly, not only in what she receives, but in what she gives. Her kindness becomes healing, her forgiveness becomes strength, her humility becomes her beauty. She no longer seeks to be seen, she seeks to serve. And because of that, Allah honors her in ways unseen. Doors open, hearts turn, peace follows her footsteps. And when she looks back, she realizes something profound. The 7 divine signs were not warnings of hardship, they were promises of transformation. Each one was a message written in mercy: be patient, for what's coming will make sense. And indeed, it all makes sense now. She stands at a point in life where she no longer asks for more, only for closeness. Because closeness is the only blessing that never fades. Ibn Arabi wrote, "The soul that rests in remembrance does not wait for paradise, she lives in it." And that's where she is now, in the quiet paradise of the heart, where every beat is dhikr and every breath whispers Alhamdulillah. That is what it means to be blessed greatly, not to have the world at your feet, but to have peace in your chest, purpose in your steps, and Allah's light in your heart. And as her heart continues to live in that state of remembrance, her life becomes a reflection of divine harmony. She no longer prays only with her words, her whole existence becomes prayer. Every act of kindness, every patient breath, every moment of silence carries the weight of La ilaha illallah. Ibn Arabi said, "The true worshipper is the one whose being remembers even when the tongue is silent." And that is who she has become. People around her start to change too. Not because she preaches, but because her presence carries peace. Her calm becomes contagious, her forgiveness softens others, her humility silences pride. She has become a mirror through which others glimpse Allah's gentleness. She never claims wisdom, yet her words soothe hearts. She never seeks leadership, yet her faith guides others home. In her solitude, she finds richness; in her patience, she finds power; in her surrender, she finds freedom. The world no longer defines her worth, because she knows the one who wrote it. When she loses something, she smiles and says, "It was never mine." When she gains something, she whispers, "It was never about me." Her soul has learned the secret Ibn Arabi spoke of: when you stop measuring blessings by form, you begin to see them everywhere. Her life now moves like water, gentle, quiet, unstoppable. She no longer chases what she desires; what's written for her arrives with grace. And even what passes her by feels like a blessing, because she knows that Allah's choices are always kinder than her wishes. Every heartbeat has become an ayah, every tear a form of worship, every breath a reunion. And one night, as she stands beneath the stars in quiet gratitude, it hits her: this peace, this beauty, this light, none of it was given suddenly. It was built, moment by moment, through every test, every surrender, every whispered Ya Allah. She realizes the truth that Ibn Arabi lived and wrote for centuries: the woman Allah blesses is not crowned by the world, she is crowned by her patience. And in that moment, her heart becomes what it was always meant to be: a sanctuary. A place where mercy rests, where remembrance breathes, where love for Allah overflows without end. And in her stillness, she finally whispers, "Everything I prayed for was only a path leading me back to you." And with time, her story becomes something greater than her own. It turns into a living proof of Allah's mercy. Those who once doubted her now look at her with quiet admiration. But she doesn't take pride in their recognition, she takes peace in knowing that everything she went through was part of His design. Ibn Arabi said, "When Allah chooses to elevate a soul, He hides her in hardship until she forgets herself. Then He returns her to the world, clothed in light." And that is what has happened. The hardship was not the end, it was the unveiling. Now, wherever she goes, her presence feels like prayer. Her smile carries tranquility, her words feel like healing. She doesn't need to explain what changed her, her calm says it all. People come to her with their fears, their wounds, their confusion, and she reminds them of what she learned. Allah never forgets, He only prepares. Her wisdom doesn't come from books, it comes from being remade by faith, from trusting when she couldn't see, from holding on when everything told her to let go. She has become the woman Ibn Arabi described, the one whose silence teaches, whose patience invites, and whose heart becomes a doorway for others to see Allah. Her life now moves gently, a rhythm of remembrance. She no longer asks for blessings to come, she asks for her heart to stay open when they do. She no longer seeks to be understood, she seeks to understand. Because she knows, once Allah writes peace into your soul, nothing external can remove it. And when she prays now, her voice is steady. She doesn't plead, she converses. She doesn't rush, she rests. She doesn't ask for less struggle, she asks for more faith. And in that moment, her journey feels complete, not because she has received everything she wanted, but because she has become everything Allah wanted her to be. She smiles, softly whispering the same truth that carried her through every test. When Allah blesses a woman, He doesn't just give her what she prayed for, He makes her the prayer itself. And in that final piece, she understands, the story was never about what she gained or lost. It was about who she became through it all. Every moment of doubt, every tear, every quiet night of surrender was Allah shaping her into something eternal. Ibn Arabi said, "The Beloved does not test to break you, but to reveal the strength He placed within you before you were born." Now, she sees that strength reflected in everything she is. She looks back at her life and no longer sees pain, she sees guidance. The people who left were never punishment, they were part of the purification. The delays were never denial, they were timing. The silence was never absence, it was presence in disguise. Every unanswered prayer was an answer wrapped in mercy. She whispers, "Ya Allah, you never took without giving me something better, you gave me myself again, but stronger, softer, and full of faith." Now her soul moves like light, quietly, effortlessly, purposefully. She walks through the world not seeking signs anymore, because she has become one. Her peace is the sign, her gratitude the proof, her patience the miracle. She no longer asks, "What's next?" because she knows that whatever comes is good. Her trust in Allah has become her home. And in that stillness, her heart finally rests. She prays, not for more blessings, but for the ability to carry them with humility. She no longer fears the future, because she knows who writes it. She no longer mourns the past, because she knows who planned it. And when she looks to the sky, her eyes fill with tears, not of pain, but of recognition. She whispers her final prayer, the one that carries every lesson, every surrender, every breath. Ya Allah, thank you for every trial that turned into mercy, for every silence that became peace, and for every test that led me back to you. I wanted a blessing, but you made me one. And as her soul rests in that awareness, the story closes, not with an ending, but with a beginning. For the woman Allah blesses greatly never stops rising, she simply learns to rise quietly. in light, in faith, and in love that will never end.